No one has more sports memorabilia than ADA. ADA has hundreds of Chiefs and Royals autographed items. Two-hit Wit, Salvi, the Honey Badger, Travis Kelce, and of course, QB1, Patrick Mahomes. Plus, on Wednesday, December 11th, the Sausage! Anthony Sherman will be appearing at 635 and 9 Highway across from Park Hill South High School. Look for the balloons and banners or go to adafundraising.com.
All of us at Sports Radio 810 want to thank you for your support of the 810 Food Drive.
We saw so many of you come out and drop off food donations.
And because of your support, the Bishop Sullivan Center in Mission Southside will be able to feed hungry families in our community.
Thank you so much for making this our best food drive yet.
And thanks to our partners, Aldi Food Market and Coach's Bar and Grill, for supporting our effort.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Will you marry me?
Yes.
Touchdown! Because he went to Joslyn's. Hey guys, if it's time to taste the sweet nectar of marriage, score the ring of her dreams at Joslyn's Jewelry. Hi, I'm Mitch Holtis, and I've known Gary Joslyn for years, and I buy from Joslyn's Jewelry because I trust his hometown help. It's like I'm buying from a family member. Now, if you want that level of service and selection, then come to Joslyn's Jewelry, 95th and Antioch, the jeweler you'll recommend to your friends and family.
The Kansas City Steak Company, the best steaks in America, right here in Kansas City for the holidays. Visit their retail location at 5140 Kansas Avenue in KCK, just west of 635. Come get the 810 holiday grilling combo that includes ribeyes, KC strips, top sirloins, filet mignon, and more for only $74.99. Hams, prime rib, herb roasted turkey for only $49.95. Or get a gift card. Get the perfect holiday gift for family and friends at the Kansas City Steak Company retail store. Kansas City Steak Company. Holidays, they matter.
Life gets a little busy during the holidays, but with all of the chaos, there's one thing you can count on: a great carpet cleaning from Zero Res. The guys are in and out fast, not wasting your time. And the carpets dry fast, so you can get on to the next thing. Of all the things you gotta do, at least let us take care of one of them. Get 3 rooms clean for just $129 and make a food donation during the cleaning, and Zero Res will clean a 4th room for free. Schedule your holiday cleaning today.
We've invented a new messaging system using the crisp sounds of Bud Light. Crisp Code, Football Edition. This is how you say, game tonight. Bring Bud Light. Fantasy fees are due. That's it for today.
Bud Light, crisp. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Where do you go when you need a truck or van to get the job done? It's City Rent-A-Truck, a trusted name for over 55 years serving the Kansas City metro area. City Rent-A-Truck can get you the right vehicle at the right time with none of the cost of ownership. Flatbeds and pickups, cargo vans and box trucks, passenger vans and SUVs. They now even do service bodies and dump beds. Whether you're renting or leasing, City Rent-A-Truck has the right project-based solution to meet your needs. Don't pay 100% of the cost for a vehicle you use 10% of the time. Work ready on demand, it's City Rent-A-Truck.
Sports Radio 810 WHB, the power of sports.
You've waited all week long for the ship to arrive. Well, it's here. The Ship with Darren Smith, here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
It's all fun and games till we get into the ring, and then you find out who's softer than Aquafina. If you can't stand the heat, stay away from my arena, cause all I bring is heat. You can call me jalapeno, keep my name out your mouth unless you're trying to sing. Accolades that you get from seeing a champion, belt, trophy, your ring. If you gotta show your bling, then tune in to the Ship where we talk about it, man. But if you tune in, you better know it's showtime. And every time he speak, man, he gonna speak his mind. Keeping the straight facts while others, they just assume we're keeping it 100 while faking there's no room. With the livest interviews and the hottest guests, you done dealt with the rest, now roll with the best. But before I forget, let me get back to the script. Introduce you to the host of the Ship, Darren Smith.
Good evening and welcome to the late night edition of the Ship right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I want to thank everyone who is still up this time of night. Thank you for joining me on the sound of my voice. If you're listening to us on the radio, in your cars, in your home, on your mobile devices, or even on Facebook Live, I want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. On tonight's show, I'll be joined in just a moment with Neil Jones. from KCTV5, and of course just a little bit later we'll also have ESPN Plus's Kenitra Pullins. We'll talk some KU football, and we'll see whether or not she thinks that KU improved based upon last year and this year. But of course, big news is Chiefs won yesterday. Oakland Raiders, they put a beat down on them, 40-9. And what do they get for their services? They get the world champion New England Patriots next Sunday. They'll have, pretty much most of the country to themselves to watch the game. Kickoff locally will be 4:25 there. It'll be 3:25 here in Kansas City. Yours truly will be on the road in Foxborough covering that game for Sports Radio 810 and ESPN Kansas City. So definitely looking forward to that. And, of course, if you got a chance to, if you've been listening to this station, you obviously were listening to the Monday Night Football game where the Seattle Seahawks were 37-30 victors over the Minnesota Vikings. So with that win, it looks as though, if I am correct, the Seattle Seahawks now move to number 2, and they have jumped the San Francisco 49ers, who have been leading the conference all season long. Now they are now they're a wild card team. So shows you just how quickly things can happen in the NFL. They go from leading the division and their conference to now they're a wild card team if the season were to end today. Of course, in the AFC, you got the Baltimore Ravens on top. They jumped the New England Patriots based off of the Patriots loss to the Houston Texans on Sunday Night Football. The Texans number 3. And that's based off of their head-to-head victory against the Kansas City Chiefs earlier here this season at Arrowhead Stadium. Chiefs are number 4, leading the AFC West. Buffalo Bills number 5, and the Pittsburgh Steelers coming up from behind at the tail end in the number 6 seed. But to talk about all that with me and so much more, and of course, if you want to get in on the conversation, you give us a call at 913-381-810. With me now is Mr. Neil Jones, my good friend from KCTV5. Mr. Jones, how are you doing this evening?
Darren, good to talk to you. We love having you on Channel 5. You do a great job when you come on the locker room. And I have to tell you, I know I've told you this in person, but I love driving home. I get off late at night. We end the show about 10:35, and so I'm in the car a lot, and I get to hear you guys on the way home when you're on the air. I love it. It's good to have local talk on late at night.
Well, definitely appreciate that. And look, I definitely enjoy coming onto the locker room. We got to make that a weekly occurrence or something. But I will say this, just a little housekeeping items while I have you on the phone. My show, The Ship, on ESPN Kansas City tomorrow at 11 a.m. on 94.5 FM and 1510 a.m. will begin to broadcast weekly from KCTV5 and inside the locker room. So I want to thank Mr. Jones. I want to thank your bosses for giving me the okay to do my show from there. When they seem fit to have me. So definitely look forward.
That's great.
Yes, sir. Definitely look forward to doing that. I'll have Danny joining me tomorrow, and then hopefully the following week when I get back from Boston, you will be kind enough if you're there. At 11 a.m. And I'm looking to do it probably on Tuesdays because that's obviously when the Chiefs are off and that's like an off day. So that's generally when I would like to do it. So at least somebody is there from the sports department that can join with me on the show.
That'll be a blast. Looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But look, let's look at the Sunday's game. I know you were there. And look, I want to talk to you about that. And obviously, you were there on the scene. I'm trying to remember where I saw somebody posting a picture of you. I don't know if it was on Twitter or not, but they were talking about you being, the elder statesman with the sports code. I'm like, see, that's a professional because that's how you're supposed to dress when you're at a press conference. So you were doing your job, and I just want to make sure that I let you know that I thought you did a good job and that you look nice in Columbia, taking care of that. But looking at the Chiefs Raiders on Sunday, what was your initial takeaways? Because I know, the game started out in a way that I didn't think it was going to end. I figured the Chiefs would win, not by the margin in which they did, but it dawned on me that after the Chiefs scored their first touchdown and then they got the ball back based off of a fumble on the kickoff return, that it was 4th and 1. And I'm like, okay, is he going to kick the field goal? Is he going to try to go for it? He went for it. Play didn't end successfully when they turned it over on downs. But the team ended up winning 40-9. But I was sitting there thinking, like, if it's a close game, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this with Andy Reid. But what was your thought process on how the game turned out?
Well, it was a huge win, and I know that all of us, and we have the game, Sunday's game against the Patriots on CBS on Channel 5. We're thrilled to have it. And look, that was a game that we all pointed to all summer long. Once that schedule came out, we talked about, oh my goodness, this December matchup in New England. This could be for home field advantage throughout the playoffs. This could be a precursor to another AFC Championship game showdown. But as it's turned out, and you just commented on when you were talking about the 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks, how quickly things can change in the NFL.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of injuries or a couple of bad performances, and suddenly, rather than talking about having home field advantage throughout the playoffs and winning the AFC during the regular season, you're talking about, okay, we need to take care of business in the division. And if you look at it, Sunday's game against the Raiders is probably a bigger game for the Chiefs moving forward than whatever would happen in New England. Because, Darren, if they don't take care of business on Sunday against the Raiders, then if you're now tied with the Raiders, you don't have the tiebreaker on them. You're tied with them in the division race with 4 games to go. Remember what happened last year? The Chiefs seemed to control their destiny. They controlled the AFC West. They had a 14-point lead with 7 or 8 minutes to go against the Chargers at home on a Thursday night, and they blow the game, or give the Chargers credit. They came down and scored 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion and won the game. And suddenly, that last game of the year, hey, we got to win this, or we're going to be a wild card after leading the division the whole year. So this was a big game. Last week or yesterday against the Raiders was a big win. It was a big game. The Chiefs stepped up when they had to. The last 2 years, I've spent my time at post game rather than going into the Chiefs locker room. I go into the visitors locker room and I go talk to their coach, quarterback, and players. And a lot of times you learn more about your team with that than you are by going in the home locker room.
Yeah.
Home locker room, especially under Andy Reid, they're not going to give anything away. Whereas the opponent, sometimes they'll talk. They'll say, hey, this team, if they had a running back, they'd be big time. Or, this team can't win it unless Patrick Mahomes is healthy. You hear stuff like that in the visitors' locker room. So I go in there yesterday, and Derek Carr, the quarterback, I talked to the running back, the kid from Alabama. I talked to their tight end. I talked to their defensive end. I talked to their biggest players, their biggest stars, as well as Coach John Gruden. And there's not a lot of Oakland media that covers them. So I was able to ask a lot of questions. And what they said was, boy, this is a great football team. They weathered the storm when they didn't have Patrick. And because I asked, I said, hey, you saw them when they were healthy, week 2. And you've seen them now when they're coming out of the situation where they've kind of been struggling a little bit and they've had some injury issues. And everybody said, this team is impressive. Andy Reid's a great coach. This quarterback gives you a chance to beat anybody. They're going to be dangerous because they're going to get healthier as the season goes on towards the end of the year. So, Darren, this was a big, big win yesterday that cements the West for the most part unless there's an absolute collapse. I don't really think that next week's game, what's it for? Is it for bragging rights? Is it for Andy Reid to say, I got another regular season win against Bill Belichick? We all understand in the NFL, it ain't about November. It's not about December, and it's not about September and October. It's about January. It's about the playoffs, and Bill Belichick proves that to us every year.
You hit on a lot of good points, and I'm not even sure where to start. I will say this: were you surprised by the way that the defense played and made Derek Carr play bad? I know he was 0-4 in games under 40 degrees, and of course, kickoff yesterday was under 40 degrees, so that didn't bode well to him. But were you surprised with just how badly he played and whether or not the Chiefs defense exposed him? Because, looking at how the Chiefs defensively have played, when they play quarterbacks that aren't too mobile, that's where they have big games. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that if they can do that on Sunday night. We'll preview Sunday's game in just a little bit. But were you surprised in the manner in which Derek Carr played against our defense Sunday?
Well, watching the game, I thought he played absolutely horrible. That pick six, it's like he threw it right to him. And then the first interception, it's like, what were you doing, right? What are you throwing? But then you talk to him, and he's explaining it himself, and John Gruden backed this up. What the Chiefs did yesterday was different than what they had done all season. They showed different things. And Derek Carr said, on both of those throws, I'm looking to a key. I read my key. I make the throw. But they're not. Their safeties are not where they're supposed to be. Their safeties were doing something we hadn't seen them do all year, and they picked both of them. And he also said, boy, their safeties played great. Juan Thornhill is something. And I don't think that's smoke and mirrors. And I don't think – so I came away thinking, Derek Carr was not as bad maybe as I thought he was, because he said, he said, I went over to the sideline after the second interception, and John Gruden said, hey, we weren't reading that. That's not what we were planning for. They got us. And so, hey, give Spags and company credit, because I think that they tricked the quarterback. But, Darren, let me ask you a question. You're going to be up there.
Yes, sir.
Do you think that same crap is going to work against Tom Brady?
You know what? While you're talking, I'm sort of thinking about it like, it's easy to trick Derek Carr, but Tom Brady, look, you really are going to have to disguise. But, I said it on the show earlier this morning, Neil, is that this is the reason why they brought Spags in. I mean, because he's Andy Reid. This is his kryptonite. Look, it's one thing to beat New England at the beginning of the season when the season opens and you don't have film on Kareem Hunt. That's one thing. But now, but in the middle of the season where there's film tape out on you, and he's able to watch and devise a plan for you, it's something totally different. And to me, this is why they brought him in, because he was able to devise a plan, and plus he had the studs too when he was in New York that knocked off New England in their undefeated season. So I think they can do it. Obviously, you want Frank Clark there because he's your money guy. But I believe that with Juan Thornhill as well as Honey Badger, the Chiefs defensively in their backfield, they have a much better defensive backfield than what they had last year when they faced New England. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. I want to say yes, but at the end of the day, yes, Spags calls the defense, but Andy Reid is still the head coach. And at the end of the day, CBS is going to show, they're going to show that split screen between Belichick and Andy Reid, and it's going, and they're going to have a storyline about a chess match and all this other stuff. And my fear in this game, and I said it earlier, my fear in this game is that Andy is going to try to outthink or outcoach himself in this game, to where the simple things that would take to knock off New England, he's not going to do, and he's going to try to be too cute by half. That's what worries me in this game coming up.
Well, Darren, you were out there at those press conferences every week, and I've gotten the impression, and I never have. I have to be honest with you, I've never ever gotten this impression in the NFL before with any of the teams I've covered. But I get the impression that Andy Reid and Bill Belichick really like facing each other. First of all, with the exception of one time, they don't meet in the Super Bowl. They met that one time in the Super Bowl with Andy was his only trip to the Super Bowl when he went there with the Eagles. But so it's not for all the marbles. But I think during the regular season, I think they really love it. I think they love the because you hear Belichick after a game where they get killed, he goes, God, give Andy credit if they ISO'd their best wide receiver on our safety, and he does all these things to get the matchups he wants, and he does a great job, and I really admire him. They always talk about how close they are, that they respect each other. I do think, based on over a long period of time, I really think they respect each other. I think Belichick respects Andy Reid's ability to draw plays and the game plan and try to put you in a bad position defensively, and there's no question that Belichick has the ability to counter that and to come up with ways to take away Tyreek Hill or to erase that guy or this guy. And I do think they really enjoy it. But let me ask you something. Danny and I talked about this on the air tonight, earlier tonight, and that is because she's like, we were talking about, do you believe in this defense? I think the only thing that really stands in the way of me really believing in this defense is not the linebackers, and they have not played well. But for me, it's the play of the defensive ends. I mean, Steve Spagnuolo's, his defenses are known for dominating the outside, for setting the edge, for cratering the offensive tackle, driving them back, getting in the quarterback's face. That's what they did. That's what he did when he was with the Giants. That's what they did, and you're right. They had great players there. And we haven't seen that. Okafor's not a great pass rusher, really good against the run on one side, and then Frank Clark has been by all accounts, injured most of this year and unable to play to the level he wants to. So I think when I start to see the outside rush, the edge really being dominated like we saw him do in New York, then I'll truly believe in the defense. Until then, I'm a little worried about it.
Look, I'm always worried about the defense, especially when teams are running the ball. That's what worries me most, because they can't, they're getting through the front line of defense. I want to go back to what you were talking about as you related about the respect between the coaches. I really do believe that, not only do they like each other, but they also respect, because I think that, with them, it is like a chess match. But I think that what Belichick likes is that Andy Reid makes him think and keeps him up a little bit later at night than you would playing maybe the Cincinnati Bengals or something. And and I say that because if you stop and think about it, during the offseason, what did Andy Reid do? He brought, he pretty much overhauled the defense. He brought in Steve Spagnuolo, and then, of course, not knowing the Tyreek Hill situation, you go out and you get another speedster in McCall Hardman. And then, of course, for some veteran experience, you bring in Shady McCoy right before the season starts. Well, the Patriots, knowing that when the season opens, the Kansas City is the favorite to win the Super Bowl, but just based off of on paper and what, and how they looked. And then you got Patrick Mahomes coming back healthy. Now you got Tyreek Hill back. So you got a plethora of offensive players. Well, what does he do? He tries to do the chess move and bring in Antonio Brown. Now, he didn't know Antonio Brown was going to act the fool on Twitter and end up being gone. But what's interesting is, as soon as they trade or they sign Antonio Brown, they jump the Chiefs and become the Super Bowl favorites, because you saw how that offense looked against Miami. And so, and now, of course, how things have transpired throughout the season, where Brady is now, he's not going to get Gronkowski back this season. They're not going to sign Antonio Brown back right now. Brady is on the sidelines freaking out about the players that he has right now, because he's like, I don't have nobody to work with besides Edelman. Edelman's not on any PEDs. And then you got James White. You got Sony Michel, who can run the ball, but he's in the doghouse. Their first-round draft pick played one game, but he's back in the doghouse for whatever reason. And so, what I'm interested in seeing is, like you said, the chess match and the coaching. I want to see, this is going to be a game where, the Chiefs, they can and they should, when healthy, be able to put up 40 points against anybody, including the Patriots. But I want to see whether or not Andy Reid is going to keep his foot on the gas. That's what scares me about this coach, because you have the talent. We talked about it after the first game in Jacksonville. Coach, when Tyreek Hill went out, you all still scored 40 points. How lethal can his offense be? I mean, and he says, and Patrick Mahomes says all the time, that they expect to score all the time. But they can't do it if the play calling isn't there. And so, look, I do believe, like I said, I do believe that they respect each other. I think Bill Belichick had the checkmate move when he signed Antonio Brown. But like I said, when all that fell off, and then I have high expectations for this Kansas City Chiefs team. Of course, I had them initially going undefeated. They lost games. But, this game would have meant something Sunday if the Chiefs wouldn't have blown the game against the Tennessee Titans. Because even with their loss, they'd be going into this game 9-3. Now, if you beat New England, you jump up to number 2, and then possibly, depending on what happens with Baltimore against Buffalo on Sunday.
Tiebreaker on Baltimore.
Exactly. So so I tell people all the time, they're like, "Oh no, the Chiefs are not fine because they blew games that they shouldn't have lost." So. But no, I mean, I'm with you on that. I think Steve Spagnuolo will devise a plan. If you looked at the game, and I don't know what you took away from the Houston Texans game Sunday night with the Patriots, but I saw, and granted, it was on indoor, it was a dome. I saw that speed. I saw what speed can do on the defense with Tom Brady, since he doesn't really have the weapons. If you don't give him time, and he did have some time later on in the ballgame, but if the Chiefs get after him, I think that Chris Jones and company could have a big game against them on Sunday.
Well, it's funny. I'm not a fan of the Patriots. It's weird. I really have a lot of respect for Bill Belichick and his dad and how he approaches it, and his career. How could you not respect it if you're a football fan? And I'm not talking about all the accusations that he cheats. I'm talking about the X's and O's and the way he builds teams. I'd hate to cover him because he is what he is. He isn't going to talk. But Andy Reid, to be honest with you, doesn't talk. He doesn't give you information.
Nothing.
He's nicer about it. He's certainly a much more polite man than Bill Belichick is, publicly at least. But I admire him.
You will only get something out of Andy Reid after a win, where he's a little jovial and he'll give you a little something. But he's still, but like you said, he's not going to give you anything during the week.
No, these football coaches in the NFL, they're copycats, and the guy who's winning is Bill Belichick. And so I think a lot of programs or a lot of organizations are set up to follow what he does. I don't think he wins because he's secretive. I think he wins because he's had a Hall of Fame quarterback his entire career in New England, pretty much. And he's done a great job. And look, he's a great coach, the best coach, all right? I'm not arguing that. But he's got a great quarterback, and that's a great place to start in a league where all the rules and everything is set up for the quarterback to win. But, Darren, the thing that kind of scares me about New England is I have counted them out so many times over the years because they struggle and they don't play well and they don't look like they're in sync. And then they kind of focus. They sharpen their game plan offensively and defensively. Last year they made the decision that we're going to run the football. We're going to try to possess the football. And we are going to win that way because we don't think we can throw it 55 times a game and win it. Hey, 4 years before, I was stunned because, we all grew up, you've got to be able to run the football to win a championship. And Bill Belichick he didn't even try to run the football. They used the run as a sort of a change-up, and they just threw it all the time. The rules have changed. You can't knock receivers around. You can't touch them. You can basically hold on the line of scrimmage. You're an offensive lineman, and they've got the best quarterback in the game. So they just threw it and threw it, and they won championships. And then last year they changed, and by the time they came into Kansas City and for the AFC Championship, they had decided the way to win for them was to run the football a ton. They had kind of changed up the way they did that. And it's just a testament to the greatness of that organization. And that's what worries me is that they look like garbage right now. They look very beatable, but who knows what they'll be like in 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks when the playoffs start. They may have sharpened their focus and found what they are, and next thing you know, they're right there back in the AFC Championship again.
That's why I love talking to you, Neil, because you look at it the way I do. That people are thinking based off of what they saw Sunday night that this is going to be the same New England team that the Chiefs are going to face on Sunday. When you talked about the teams when they played each other in January. Man, the Patriots came into Kansas City and had 500 yards of offense against Kansas City, 176 yards on the ground, and Tom Brady, almost 350 yards in the air. I mean, it's one thing, like you said, for them to do it the way that they did it. Look, what I think, and especially looking after what happened in Sunday night's game, New England, when they're at home, I think they're undefeated. I think the 2 games that they lost were on the road. So they're undefeated at home. And Tom Brady is angry. You don't want to see Brady when he's angry. And so I believe this week, Belichick and company, they will hunker down. Tom Brady and them, they will work overtime. They'll work extra to try to get the receivers up to snuff. I'm looking forward to the matchup between Tyreek Hill and Stephon Gilmore, Stephon Gilmore in Sunday's game because Belichick is going to take Tyreek out. I mean, he always divides the defense where he's going to take your number one option out, whether it's him or Kelsey, kind of like what he did in the AFC Championship game. So my question is, if you're Andy Reid, if you know that he's going to take one of your top 2 options out, what's your third best option? What's your fourth best option? And of course, against them in January, it was Sammy Watkins. He had 4 catches for 114 yards. Well, the last 2 games, Sammy Watkins only had 2 catches for 26 yards. I mean, Sammy
Watkins has he had a touchdown since week 1?
I don't think so. I don't think
he has either. I mean, that's been one of the things that I cannot figure out. Patrick Mahomes, for most of the season, throwing the football. We understand there were about 3 games there where he was missing. But you got him and you got Sammy Watkins. How could Watkins kind of not be able to show up? Exactly. And I agree with you. I think Watkins is going to play has the potential to play a massive role on Sunday. And I'm kind of wondering who's going to be the running back. I think Damian Williams is a guy that gives them a chance to make the big play. He is a big play guy, has been his whole career. And he's not perfect. He doesn't have the vision of a Shady necessarily, but the guy makes big plays. And I think that's what you've got to do against New England. You've got, like you said, Belichick is going to take away whatever he deems to be the most important weapon for the Chiefs. And so you better find some other guys who can make big plays.
Now, and when you talk about Damian Williams, I'm not sure. I think he's still injured, so I'm not sure how his ribs are. I don't know if Andy Reid gave an update earlier today in his press conference. But again, right now we don't know the update of Damian Williams. I know Darrell Williams, he pulled his hamstring yesterday, so I doubt he's going to be able to go. Obviously, Shady McCoy, he got a few reps yesterday. He did get a touchdown, but he only had, 5 carries for 10 yards. So maybe Andy Reid's been saving him for this game coming up. And, of course, we saw what Darwin Thompson did, at the end of the game. But, of course, I don't want to make light of it, but it was garbage yardages that he was able to get.
No. Hey, it's the NFL.
Yeah.
Okay? I think in college you can say that. But in the NFL, everybody plays. And so I like Darwin.
No. I like him.
I thought he was going to play a lot more this year. I've been surprised.
Yeah, and especially after what Eric Bieniemy said. He did say that we were going to see a lot of Darwin in yesterday's game. I just didn't think it was going to come at the tail end of the ball game. Before I get you out of here, I do want to, let me ask you your prediction in Sunday's game, if you want to give it, between the Chiefs and the Patriots.
I just have a bad feeling. I kind of like you. I don't know that you want to play the Patriots in New England when they're angry, when the quarterback's mad. I mean, they're killing them. They are bombing them up there, and plus the national media is all doing what they do every year. Is this
Tom Brady is the end of Brady?
Yeah. So it worries me. If I were a betting man, I think I'd probably have. I don't know what the spread is, but I'd have to look real hard before I bet on the Chiefs.
Patriots by 3. Patriots by 3.
I just have a bad feeling about this one. And like I said, I don't think this is the key game. I think the Chiefs win the games they're supposed to win. They'll be fine. They'll go into the playoffs, have a home game. We'll see what happens after that.
Now, I will say this. What worries me most about Chiefs and the Patriots, and, I mentioned this to Patrick after the first game that they played, is that they always have a tendency to leave too much time on the clock when they take a lead late in the ball game against a good team, especially a good quarterback. That's what happened twice against the Patriots. And, Patrick says that it's never a bad time to score or to score quickly. I'm like, yeah, I understand that, but when you're facing Tom Brady, you leave 2.5 minutes on the clock. I mean, he's got enough time to, walk down the field and do
How
a
long
walk
did that
off.
feel like in the AFC Championship? It felt like it was about a year that they had the football that last possession.
Oh, gosh, yes. Yes, and of course, they taking advantage of, who was it, Gronk, 3rd and 10, 3 straight times against Eric Berry. It's like, come on, man. And then next thing you know, what happened? Your guy D Ford, can't win for losing, and but that goes back to coaching though, because the Chiefs led the league in penalties that year, and that's what ended up doing them in against the Patriots was the penalties. So, I mean,
yeah, it's I remember driving home real late. I'm at the stadium doing post game in the Chiefs locker room, and then go back to the station, edit something for the morning show, and I'm driving home in the middle of the freaking night, and there's a player on ESPN on 810, and I'm listening to it, and he said, let me tell you something. D Ford's a nice player. D Ford wouldn't be playing for the Patriots because D Ford, you don't do stuff like that. You don't line up wrong and play for Bill Belichick. And it really was like a slap in the face, and you're like, you know what? He's right. Belichick doesn't put up with that. Belichick wants smart players who are adaptable because, as you said, they morph themselves offensively and defensively every single week. They reinvent themselves, and they defend the team they're playing. They don't run the same defense. They defend what they're playing. And if the other team's got the fastest, quickest guy in the world in the NFL, and Tyreek Hill, then we're going to defend them differently than we do the Chargers or somebody else. And it was like, oh, man. It's so obvious. It's true. D Ford would not survive under Bill Belichick unless he learned where to line up and how to avoid stupid penalties. That's one of the worst things I've ever seen. To lose a football game because you line up in the neutral zone, which we all learn how to do when? 3rd grade. First time we played football.
Well, and here's what makes matters worse, because I'm sitting there looking at the box score from the AFC Championship game. He didn't have any tackles. The team had 99 tackles. He didn't even register in the game, but that penalty. That was his contribution to the game. I mean, Chris Jones at least had a pass deflection. No tackles, no sacks, but a pass. He didn't even register in the defensive stats, what I'm looking here from last year's game. So the fact that his only contribution to that game for real was the penalty, and costing the team a trip to the Super Bowl. People are like, well, he's playing, he's doing well in San Francisco. Look, that's good. I'm happy for him. But he couldn't stay in, like you said, he couldn't stay in Kansas City based off of that alone, if for no other reason.
And he was a good guy. I'm not bagging on him as a person. I think he played hard. But the bottom line is the bottom line. This is not high school, college. This is the NFL. It's only about winning. You don't graduate guys. You don't have a marching band. You don't all live over in the dorm together and everything. This is pro football, and you're there for one reason. If you don't win, if you don't make winning plays, then you've got to move on. And that's a cynical, horrible attitude, but it is the reality of professional football. And I to be honest with you, I was glad they let D go. Maybe he needed to go to someplace else.
Yeah, but he's still lining up in the neutral zone in San Francisco. And there's been games.
I know, I saw that.
Yeah, like, come on.
I saw that, man. It's tough. But you know what? I don't know about you. You're out there, more than I am during the week. But Steve Spagnuolo gives me the confidence. And I like Bob Sutton as a person. And I think he's a pretty good football coach. But his message had ended out there. No, they weren't buying it. And Steve Spagnuolo, I do think, brings a level of, you got to perform. And, we're going to hold you accountable for what you do on the football field. And I think that's a good thing.
Well, and also, to your point, he's got the credibility because he did devise a defense to knock off an undefeated team, and he won a Super Bowl with it. So
yeah, you know what that defense was? Let's hit the son of a bitch in the mouth. Excuse me, I shouldn't have cussed.
No, you're fine. This is a ship after dark. You can say that.
This is football. This is football. You got to get after the quarterback. The Chiefs beat Tom Brady. He threw 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions at a game at Arrowhead back in the mid-2000s because they got to him early and they hit him and hurt him. They hurt him and he threw 4 picks. Chiefs win a game they probably shouldn't have won because they got to him and they hit him. That's old-fashioned football. And I know the rules are such that it's very difficult to hit the quarterback legally, but you've got to get to him. The Giants did it under Steve Spagnuolo. I hope that the Chiefs develop a chance to get to him early because it changes the complexion of the football game.
And again, the biggest difference last year against and you were there, I believe, against the Colts at the first home game they had in the playoffs, they were blitzing, they were going after the quarterback, they were chasing him around. Against Tom Brady, they never once blitzed him. They never once sent anybody after him. So big difference. Now look, you were in Columbia, I believe, this weekend when MU made the decision to fire Barry Odom. Obviously, I think a lot of people agree with that decision. But what is next for MU now that they've gotten rid of the coach?
Well, Darren, it's real simple. I mean, it's easy to fire a coach, and it's easy to look at what Barry Odom did not get done. Okay, they didn't win big games this year. They lost games against teams, bottom feeders in the league, right? They lost 3 teams in the SEC East that are eminently beatable: Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky. They lost at Wyoming. So it's easy to see what he didn't get done. But here's the problem. You got to find somebody who's better than him. And if you're going to go out and hire another non-Power 5 coach from the MAC or the American Conference, everybody's talking about Norvell, the coach at Memphis. They're 11-1. Everyone's talking about him, but what proof is there that he can do that in the SEC against superior competition? It's one thing to win at Memphis, and that's why it's so hard for these ADs. You got to get it right. It's easy to fire a guy. You didn't hire him, so you can fire him. But the problem now is you've got to go out and get somebody who can lead this program, who can recruit and keep the kids in the state of Missouri at home, because they've been losing players who are starting everywhere. There are Missouri high school football players starting on a bunch of great football programs. Okay, freshman All-America at Oklahoma, freshman All-America in the Big Ten from St. Louis that Missouri recruited for 4 years and could not get to come. They've got to get a guy. They've got the facilities. They're in the SEC. They've got money. They've got to get a guy who can make that a hot place. We want to play there. I want to be recruited there. And so when I hear some of these names, I'm like, yeah, fine. Great.
Right.
And listen, Chris Kleiman has surprised me at Kansas State, coming from North Dakota State. He did a great job there. We all knew he knew X's and O's. We still don't know if he can recruit.
Yeah.
To a level where you can win in a Power 5 league. There have been a lot of really good smaller school coaches who know X's and O's, who are great football people, who are great leaders. But if you can't get the kids to want to come, then you have no chance. So you better go out and get kids who can go into St. Louis and into Kansas City and keep the best players in Missouri. And I respect Jim Sturk, their athletics director, a lot. I think he's a really solid guy. I think if you ask me, is this the right move? I can see it because my son's a sophomore over there, and his fraternity, it's just not a big deal. Football, they don't have that sense that, a lot of confidence, a lot of excitement about that program. And if they don't buy into it on campus, how the heck are you going to sell it to kids who are not on campus?
Yeah, that's true, especially when you got the NCAA, I think, where they got the bowl ban for the next few years as well. It's just, you're just there, and then you really don't take a big interest in it because whatever happens at the end of the season, that's just it. You're not going to be able to advance to a bowl game or anything like that. Neil, before we get you out of here, if you got anything you want to promote that you're doing this week, promote how people can get a hold of you on social media, be my guest.
I have some very bad news for the viewers of Channel 5 in that Danny and Breland are off tomorrow, so you're going to have to look at me. I apologize for that. If I were you, I would much rather watch them than me, but I'm going to have a story I'll do something on. I think I'm doing something on Bishop Miege. There's been a lot of blowback. They absolutely destroyed Andover Central in the Class 4A playoffs, and generally you say, hey, that's good news. Except there are a lot of people who are really angered, and it's been going on for a while. But Bishop Miege has won 6 straight Class 4A championships, and some of these smaller schools they're sick of running into that big roadblock. And the system needs to be improved in Kansas, where the private schools that can recruit are pushed up a class or two. That just has to happen because it's just not fair to the kids. And the other thing is, you have Kenitra coming on next.
Yes.
Do me a favor. Ask her if she still believes in Tom Herman. Ask her if it's time to make another switch. And if it ain't Tom Herman, who's it going to be?
I will do that. Believe in Tom Herman.
Darren, it's always fun to come on with you. It's good to talk to you with television. I appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate it. Look, I always appreciate the invite when you have me on, and thank you so very much. And I'll make sure that you're not a stranger on this show as well.
All right, talk to you.
All right, when we come back from the break, we'll speak with ESPN Plus's Kenitra Pullen. We'll talk some KU football right here on the ship, here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You're listening to the hottest new sports show in Kansas City, The Ship with Darren Smith, here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Dell's biggest Cyber Monday week ever starts now. Save up to 50% on Windows 10 laptops and desktops with Intel Core processors before Windows 7 support ends January 14th, 2020. Save on servers and a huge selection of electronics with low monthly payments, plus get free shipping. Call 877-BUY-DELL to talk to a Dell small business technology advisor who can help you find just the right tech. That's 877-BUY-DELL or visit Dell.com/SB Cyber Monday.
I'll wait till you're talking till Kenitra, or the caller, then I'll call Kenitra.
It's your chance to learn more. Tune in to Sports Radio 810 every Sunday from 7 to 8 a.m. or ESPN Kansas City Wednesdays from 3 to 4 p.m. for CBD&U, presented by CBD American Shaman. You'll hear why so many people are switching to all-natural CBD. It's CBD&U, presented by CBD American Shaman. Sundays on Sports Radio 810 from 7 to 8 a.m. and Wednesdays on ESPN Kansas City from 3 to 4 p.m.
Hey, I'm Kirk Herbstreit, and I watch college football like it's my job.
It is your job.
I know, but sometimes I like to get out of the booth and chill. Here, have a Coors Light.
Thanks.
So, where was I?
You're on my couch. In my spot.
Oh, is this your spot? It's a nice spot. Great view.
Make Saturday mornings even more chill with a fridge full of Coors Light, the official beer of Saturday morning. 2019 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
Give the gift of an authentic taste of Kansas City by sending your family and friends Joe's Kansas City Barbecue. Joe's now ships nationwide, so you can send loved ones near and far some delicious, world-famous barbecue, ribs, burnt ends, even a Z-Man kit. It's also great for corporate gifting. You can place your order online by visiting sendjoeskcbbq.com
Or if you'd like help putting together the perfect package, give them a call at 913-764-5637.
Colors, campfires, crisp fall air, and hunting season. These are a few of our favorite things, and fall's brought them all to Kansas City, hometown to Bushnell, and more than 300 employees who make world-class outdoor products. Because we love the outdoors just as much as you. So join us by the fire. Join us on the hunt. See you in deer camp and around town, and see you at bushnell.com to get the homegrown gear that makes autumn the best season of the year.
When you're diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, a million questions flood your mind.
How can this be happening?
Am I going to be able to work?
What's a subtype? What do I do now?
We know.
We went through it too. But once you start to understand your options,
You can partner with your doctor
and find ways to face MBC on your own terms. Visit findyourmbcvoice.com and learn how to speak up and have a more informed conversation with your doctor.
Some questions have answers.
Visit findyourmbcvoice.com to find some of yours.
There's a party every day at Brick and Mortar in Waldo. Come by for Dollar Burger Mondays, $2 tacos on Tuesdays, half-price bottles of wine, and cheese boards on Wednesdays, steak night plus live music on Thursdays, and Friday happy hour from noon until 6:30. And don't forget brunch on Saturdays from 10 until 4 with bottomless mimosas. And Sunday NFL watch parties with shots every time KC scores. Come join the party at Brick and Mortar in Waldo.
Hey, Greg Gurley here for the Salty Iguana Mexican restaurants. When you're really swamped, which is like all the time, have your Salty Iguana favorites delivered. If you're young, hip, and cool and know how to use a phone, just choose your favorite delivery app and get the Salty Iguanas KC Mexican delivered fresh wherever you are. Or for catering, party packs, or just to pick up food to go, check out saltyiguana.com. Hey, if I can get my kids to help me, I'm going to have some food delivered right now. That's the Salty Iguana Mexican restaurants.
All right, we're back here on the ship here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Darren Smith with you live in studio. Give us a call, 913-381-1010. We'll get to Kenitra in just a moment, but I do want to go to the phone lines and say good evening to Butch. Butch, how are you doing? And thank you for holding.
I am doing very well. Ship, how are you doing, brother?
I am doing okay, man. See, you want to talk some Chiefs and Mizzou, the new Mizzou head coach. What you got on your mind?
Yeah, man, I was listening to what you and Neil were talking about earlier. Man, that was a great couple minutes of listening.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think you guys get it right. You know, to start off with the Kansas City Chiefs, how about that win? You know what? I don't know if we're that good. Are we that good on defense? I didn't think we were that good on defense. I told a couple people, look, Chiefs are going to have to put Derek Carr, claim him on their taxes. He's their son now because every time he comes to Arrowhead, he just flubs, man. We're not that good. So he just actually is flubbing every time he walks in the Arrowhead. It's inside of his head at this point, so I expect him to no longer be the Raiders quarterback here going very soon.
I will say this. Let me jump in. I will say this as it relates to the team. Look, minus Damian Williams going into the game, this was the healthiest the Chiefs have been before the season started. So I think their health and the fact that they finally, as the defense, got a chance to play well together and practice and stuff this week as a complete unit. I think that did have an effect. They were obviously hype about being back at Arrowhead. They've been in Mexico City and then have the bye week. Also, the fact that, and you go based off the energy of your leader. And Patrick Mahomes always brings that energy to each and every ball game. And so, they kind of feed off of that. So, look, I definitely feel where you're coming from, where the question is the defense really that good? I'll put it like this. It's the Raiders. We'll see come Sunday. Now, if they can have the same energy and bring that same type of intensity on Sunday, then I'm with you.
I'm right with you as well. No, you make an absolutely great point. Yeah, have that same energy next Sunday or this Sunday, and we'll see exactly what's about to happen. No, that's not to be taken as a slight to Chiefs defense. I actually love what they're doing, and it's just clear that they're going in film study. What they do, they sit down, they watch the film, they say, "Hey, guys, you see this right here, Tyron? Oh man, we're going to eat this one up." When they run this deep out to Darren Waller, you're going to eat that up. So I'm sure they went through their film review of the Raiders and just came out with a great game plan. And, yeah, you're right. They're healthy now. They're playing well. Hopefully the injury with Frank Clark in his shoulder or something minor so they can go in to New England on Sunday and be able to get a win. Another point that you made that I really like, right? So when we get to New England, when we get to that atmosphere, Andy, I love them to death. This is a situation where we want successful offense. There's no need to out or overthink this one. There's no need for him to try to put in a game plan to where he feels like, okay, we have to get through every play in the script. When you're playing against a team like the Patriots, you know that your margin for error is already so slim. Like you mentioned, we just need to do what's working. What's working? Okay, is the run game going to work? Do we need to put Pat under center more? Does he need to be under center 25% of the snaps? Does it need to be handoffs outside zone? Does it need to be less stacked? Those types of plays, once they start working in the first half, do it in the second half. Like, don't stop doing it until the defense makes you or force you to do something different. So I think that's going to be another big part of the Chiefs eventually winning on Sunday. And yes, I'm calling my shot here. I'm very excited for this. No, I'm being dead serious. I think this team right now, the way they set up themselves after the bye week to be healthy, the way they're coaching right now, the confidence they're playing with, you're right. They have the swagger of a team that knows that they are very good. Their quarterback has the swagger. They're going to bring that to New England. They're not afraid of New England. They let a couple go, but they're not afraid of New England. And New England's margin, I don't think what we're talking about right now, what hasn't been mentioned, New England's margin for error, it's razor thin. I saw them against Houston. Darren, they don't look like they're not the same team that we lost to in January. They have no speed. They have no.
They don't have nobody yet. I mean, they don't have Josh Gordon won't play, but they don't have Rob Gronkowski. I mean, they don't have any speedy wideouts yet. This is definitely not the same team. But you know what? At the end of the day, they still got Tom Brady. They still got Bill Belichick, and that's what's going to matter most as it relates to Sunday's game. Look, Butch, I'd love to have you on, but I gotta get to Kenitra. It's late in the hour.
It.
But hey, appreciate your call.
Kenitra, I said hi. Thank you so much, brother. Take care.
I will do that, man. You have a good evening. Thank you so much. All right, next up we have the very lovely First Lady of Sports joining us all the way from Overland Park, Kansas, Miss ESPN Plus's Kenitra Pullins. Kenitra, good evening.
Hi, Darren. How are you?
Doing well. Look, I have to be a good steward. So Neil Jones wanted me to ask you: do you still believe in Tom Herman?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'll see. There you go, Neil. You got your answer.
I mean, he's making changes, getting a new defensive coordinator because Todd Orlando, did not adapt to the scheme, did not develop talent. Yeah, you can get the players in your top 5 recruiting class perennially, but not able to develop them and too many missed tackles. And yes, they were beset by a lot of injuries, but the fact that the defense didn't improve. I mean, the offense was still very good. It's just the defense, let them down, which is, kind of a common refrain around Kansas City and dealing with the Chiefs. Offense puts up points, defense really can't stop anybody. So that's kind of what, Texas, fell into. I mean, they're still have a winning record. No, they didn't finish where they wanted to, but I think if Tom Herman can get an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, in there, and but I mean at the same time, it's kind of desperate times. When you're making wholesale changes with the staff, then that it's like this is Tom Herman's last chance, really, to make considerable improvements. Get back to double-digit wins before he's shown the door.
There you have it from the Longhorn lady herself. Kenitra, look, you have the great privilege of covering the KU Jayhawks and football for KU and the Jayhawk Network and stuff. And so looking at how they finished off the season, can you kind of recap the game against Baylor? I know you were there, 61-6. I mean, just how dominant was Baylor over KU in that ball game?
Literally from the word go, Baylor was on it. I mean, when you have a one-play drive that results in a touchdown, you have another drive, the opening drive, 4 plays in the end zone. It's almost like before KU knew what happened, it's like they're down 14-0. It was a blur of how. I mean, it's not like Baylor's playing for nothing. They had already clinched their position in the Big 12 championship game next week against OU, but they were still going for style points. That's why they never let up. They're still trying to get, into the college football playoff. They still have a lot to prove, and they certainly did at the booth last Saturday.
I got a question for you. So Ty Lebo asked me this morning before his conference call with Les Miles, and it really made me think. In your opinion, because I'm not sure how far you can jump into this particular question, but do you think KU has improved this year versus last season? When you look at what they've given up and what they've scored this season, it's it's more than what they gave up and scored last season. Where statistically, last year was a better season than this year.
Better production out of the quarterback position, yes. I think offense took a step back. With the way that KU led the Big 12 in interceptions last year, those turnovers weren't coming, from the secondary, from the defense. Even though the first points of this season, pick six.
Yeah.
But it seemed, it was a long time ago. It was back in August 31st. So I think the defense took a step back. Same number of wins, 3 wins last year, 3 wins this season. But the fact that Les Miles' squad was able to get 3 wins in his first year, which, it took David Beatty a while to get to that 3-win total.
Yeah.
And, but you also had pause. You had pause when you're like, wait a second. When you lose to Coastal Carolina at home week 2, this isn't supposed to happen. But then you turn right back around, you go to Boston College, and blow the doors off them. Boston College, which is making a change at head coach right now as we speak. And then there was, reason for optimism, like, okay, we see what Les Miles is about. And then things, kind of tempered and kind of moderated. And then bye week happened, they come back and
lose to West Virginia.
Put up points against Texas, nearly win Texas game. But then kind of like the last month, it just kind of was down. And so it was just kind of like the Jekyll and Hyde, of this first season. So it's, if you go by win total, he has 3 wins, and KU had a chance to win, had 2 chances really to win the 4th game, something that a KU team hasn't done in a decade. And there was reason for optimism. Iowa State, but some of the final scores, KU scored, 4th quarter touchdowns, and you're just kind of like, it made the score, the final score, closer than what the game actually was. The Oklahoma State game was difficult. Iowa State, you're like, okay, they're competitive, but then Baylor it was just a tough final statement to make, because that's all you have until spring game in April.
And look, for me, I don't know, maybe I just held Les Miles in a higher state because of what he did down at LSU and some of his previous stops.
Mm-hmm.
Because, look, when they won 24-17, I literally thought that this team could win 6 games this first season and qualify for a bowl. And when you look at the games that you thought that they should have won, that they lost, Coastal Carolina, you lose against West Virginia, and then, in the Texas game, if you beat Texas, if you're able to hold on to that lead and they don't come down and I believe kick a field goal to win that game, and then you turn around and you beat Texas Tech, now you at least got 6 wins somewhere on there where you can qualify for a bowl game. And then, of course, we saw what ended up happening the rest of the way. And it's funny because after they won that Texas Tech game, you come back and you get ready for the Dillon Sunflower Showdown with K-State, and you lay an egg against Kansas State at home. I think, to be honest, I think it was that game that kind of deflated, in my opinion, the Jayhawks, the rest of the season after they lost that game against Kansas State.
Yeah, especially you're at home, sellout crowd at home, so like the energy was great. And not to be able to really showcase in front of your fans and in front of the potential recruits, a better product. It had far-reaching, long-lasting effects, just beyond that game.
All right. So, what changes, if any, do you see Les Miles making in the offseason?
I mean, he said, when we talked to him post game, what's next? He's like, we have a staff meeting, we have a team meeting Sunday morning. I will be on the road recruiting Sunday night. So I mean, because signing day is the 18th. This is kind of the second year of that early signing period.
Oh,
where
I forgot
this time
about
last
that.
year,
Yeah.
he was just being installed as head coach. So he's trying to get his staff in order, so he couldn't really recruit as actively as maybe he would like to and be as hands-on. So now that he's had a full year of 12 games, and he's had his staff in place, and now they said, okay, what are you looking for? He did not hesitate, point blank period, a quarterback. So he has his priorities of what he's targeting. You got to find somebody, to replace Carter Stanley. Yes, there are a lot of quality quarterbacks in the program who are going to compete and try to earn that QB1 position. But Les Miles said his goal is to find a quarterback.
Look,
and so he was making an in-home visit Sunday night.
Hey, that's the one thing I respect about these college coaches, man. Look, they have to get out on the road and they have to recruit. And the fact that they have pretty much an unlimited budget to go do that, look, I admire him. Of course, he gets on that jet, and he's able to go out and travel and do what needs to be done. Kenitra, of course, you also, again, as I mentioned before, you double up covering the KU basketball team. They've moved up to number 2 now in the country. Talk about that. They're 6-1, I believe, coming out of the Maui Invitational. Their next game up is Saturday in Lawrence. Can you kind of preview that game for us?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that the team has a week and a half off, after Maui. So I mean, they're back. They got back Friday morning. Rested, I'm sure, a couple days off, get over the jet lag. But, I mean, if you see kind of the way that Devon Dotson, the way that Udoka Azubuike played against Dayton, a really, really strong showing. I mean, Dayton is a really well-coached team, a quality team, a team with some depth, a team with some shooters, plural. When you have your big man who can shoot threes consistently. So I think that I think is a statement win, and Jay Bill is saying it's the best that KU has played. So it's now that they've had some time off instead of 3 games back to back to back. There's some time now to just kind of finish the semester off, and then start preparing for conference play. And so I think being number 2, the 3 first place votes in the AP poll. Right behind Louisville. So I think now if we can just get them all to buy in, Bill Self's mantra, defense, 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 defense.
And they've been doing well. Devon Dotson.
How great they could be.
Yeah, and they did well. Devon Dotson was named Big 12 Player of the Week this past week for his play after earning co-MVP honors down at Maui Gym.
Right, career high against Dayton, in points.
And then Doak is shooting almost 80% from the field. I know he led the NCAA's when he was last healthy a couple seasons ago when they went to the Final Four. I think at a 76% clip, so he's shooting almost 80% from the field. I know a lot of it is underneath the basket, but hey, I mean, as long as it counts to me, I mean that's all that matters. But
sure, and the fact that down the stretch against Dayton he made 3 or 4 free throws, which is a very encouraging sign for Doak.
Yeah, because that was something I was definitely concerned with as the season started. Look, of course, they played the former Big 8, Big 12 member Colorado Buffaloes Saturday at Lawrence. Of course, you can hear the game right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB 6:00 tip-off. Pregame will probably tip off around 4:30 on Saturday here on the station, and then of course. They also have a home game on Tuesday, which I just thought about. I'll have to be there when I get back from Boston. They play in Milwaukee, and then next Saturday, and then the Saturday after that, UMKC at the Sprint Center. So KU will be having a lot of home games coming up. And so I don't know. The game I'm most looking forward to in December is when they travel and play Villanova. And I know you'll be at that. I hope you'll be at that game. I look forward to Okay, yes. I know you're looking forward to that game.
It'll be the team's last game before the holiday break.
Yeah, and I'm still trying to figure out why 11 o'clock in I think that game's on CBS or ESPN, but that's just early.
I think it's a Fox game.
Oh, Fox. Oh, okay. Well, still noon. Well, I guess noon tip off since it's in Philadelphia, but still that is early. Look, I do want to get your thoughts. I know we'll talk Thursday, but your early thoughts on Chiefs and Patriots this Sunday.
I mean, surprising how much the Patriots struggled against Houston early. I mean, yeah, they made a game of it, in the fourth quarter. Tom Brady's obvious frustration and, not having Gronk, is definitely a factor, this year. So if, the Chiefs can shake the ghost of Patriots past.
That's so much easier said than done.
Yeah, try and write this thing in Foxborough because, right now, I mean, yeah, winning the AFC West, that's kind of, they could do it with their eyes closed, with one hand tied behind Patrick Mahomes' back, and, even if it was like a three-legged, I mean, he could, they'd have to just totally oversleep or fall into a hibernation in the month of December in order not to win the AFC West. But I mean, that's not enough. In Chiefs fans, in Chiefs Kingdom, winning the division. Okay, been there, done that, over and over and over.
Right.
Can you get back to the AFC Championship game? Can you take that next step
and do it on the road?
Right. Because that's the thing. It's like now, I mean, they're still playing for seeding because all of a sudden, hey, Texans are hot. Ravens are scorching.
Oh, God, yes.
So, like, that's the thing is, like, yes, there's still possibilities in front of the Chiefs, but, like, they don't control their own destiny. I mean, they need lots of help. They need the Ravens to stumble.
Yeah, Ravens got to stumble against the Bills this Sunday. I'm not sure who else they play the rest of the way, but it does start this Sunday against Buffalo on the road in Buffalo. And I think Buffalo can win that game. They do have a pretty good defense, and they have a run game as well. And obviously, not to the extent of the Baltimore Ravens, but maybe Lamar Jackson finally lost a fumble this season, this past Sunday, his first of the season, so anything is possible. Kenitra, look, I thank you for taking the time out, staying up late, joining us on the show tonight, talking KU football and basketball with us, and look forward to having you in studio on Thursday night.
We'll talk to you then. All
right, that's Kenitra Pullums. You can, of course, find her on Facebook and Twitter, and, of course, you can listen to her, watch her doing the sideline reporting for both KU football and basketball. So, again, tomorrow, 11 a.m. on our sister station, ESPN Kansas City at 11 a.m., I'll be doing my show live from inside the KCTV5's The Locker Room. So, definitely look forward to having you all tune in, and you all have a good night.